and there's also a time to turn the page on the infinite sizzle of the Arizona summer. It's about 117 out today, out here in the flatlands. I had multiple people come up and say, man, great idea. I should have brought a towel. It's like being in a nightclub in Savannah. Make sure you got a towel if you're going to be cutting. Welcome back to the Mindbender Mental Performance Podcast. I'm your host, Kowalski. As you can see, the mod cons are here in full effect. We have an additional boom to my right. Massive articulating jib options in multiple directions. All the mod cons are here. Today, we're diving deep into themes of endurance and resilience as illustrated in the beloved movie, Forrest Gump. Yes, we're still on Forrest Gump. Part 2. Now, I want you to picture this, a man with pure grit. And as you know, gritty beats pretty and toughness beats talent. Pure grit and determination. Guy runs across the country over 1,095 days, 3 straight years, embodying the spirit of ultra endurance. And then we have Lieutenant Dan. He faces his own storms, doesn't he? Not just literal ones aboard the old shrimp and boat named Jenny. But metaphorical storms of life as well. Let's take a look deeper into these and see how we can apply their journeys to our own, both on and off the field. About the endurance of the great Forrest Gump. Certainly was an ultra runner, nothing short of legendary. Again, over 1,095 days. He ran for 3 years, 2 months, 14 days, and 16 hours. But what does it represent? I think it represents a couple things. Consistency. It takes what it takes, and consistency is a superpower. So if you can get more consistent, you'll become the magic penny. You'll become not 1% better, but exponentially better. The magic penny that if I said, do you want $3.5 million in cash right now? Or would you take a penny that doubles every day for 31 days? I believe by day 15, it's over 6-7 million. By 31 days, it's 10.5 million, something like that. But I'm a public school Polish Mexican. You do the math. He didn't wake up one day and decide to run across America. He started with one step and kept moving. He ate the mosh. He got out there. He moved his legs. And he was consistent. Wherever it is for us, whether we're in the classroom, whether we're being a spouse, whether we're at work, whether we're on the court, whether we're on the field, consistency in practice and in preparation, that leads to incredible results over time. Prepare, perform, reflect. That's our performance cycle. Each day is an opportunity to take that step. Forrest's ability to keep running, despite the challenges he faced, loss, heartbreak, and the heart is a mysterious beast. To treat old, simple-minded, gift of blankness Forrest, break that young man's heart. He rode for her, though, didn't he? I do know what love is, and loneliness. Teaches us really the importance of mental resilience. And it's not just about bouncing back. It's about moving forward, despite the weight of the adversity. Making adversity your advantage. So when we encounter a setback, are we going to make a setback a setup for a comeback? How are we going to respond? What series of steps or systems do we have in place so we know how to respond? Because again, you're not born mentally tough. It's something that you learn. It's a skill set. So, do we let the setback define us? Or do we learn? Do we grow from it? Do we choose to rise above it? I think ultimately, it's about embracing the journey, wherever you're at. I know we say it a lot, but look at Forrest, man. Wasn't running for fame or recognition or for the gram. Nah, wasn't doing it for Strava. Pretty sure he ran because it brought him fulfillment, brought him peace, quieted the demons that he was dealing with. It's like, what are you running from? No, it's what he's running to and through. It reminds us that the journey matters more than the destination. In our pursuits, whether in sports or personal goals, or if you're Corpo Carl, we must find joy in the process, celebrating the small victories along the way. And it's like the great New Zealand rugby team, the All Blacks, say, never be too big to do the small things. Sweep the sheds. How about Lieutenant Dan on the shrimp boat Jenny? We all remember that, up on the mast, calling the storm in, no legs. How about Lieutenant Dan up there? Here we have a character who grappled with his own identity, and I'm sure we've all dealt with that. Huh? After losing his legs in Nam, he wanted to be left there. Not today, Forrest said. You might die, Lieutenant Dan, but not today. That wasn't in the movie. Nonetheless, he finds new purpose in the storm, doesn't he? You call this a storm? What can we learn? We have to face our own storm. Lieutenant Dan faces little storms at sea, but these storms represent more of his internal battle that we all face when life gets turbulent, just like the open sea. How are we going to respond? Do we hunker down and surrender, become a victim, or a fighter? A lamb or a lion? Sometimes we got to be the lamb, but sometimes we got to be the lion. Eyes in front, that animal's going to hunt. Eyes on the side, that animal's going to hide. So what do we learn? How do we respond? His journey teaches us that we can find strength in being vulnerable too. It's okay to ask for help and lean on other people. What we reveal, we can heal. And you'll find that, it's funny. Failure is that thing that all of us share. We all fail. But it's like the dirty thing that nobody wants to talk about, yet it's the one thing that binds us all together that we learn from. How did you learn how to do this? Trial and error. Just failed a bunch and learned. Sometimes you got to redefine your identity. Think about after Lieutenant Dan had his surgery and then his struggles with his own purpose. But instead of succumbing to the despair and, he embraced a new identity. As what? As what? A shrimp boat captain. Kowalski, what are you doing now? And you were a corporal for 50 years, a mental performance coach for people who play sports. Not a baseball player. You're a person who plays baseball. So how about Lieutenant Dan, right? Out of Nam, no legs, I'm a shrimp boat captain. So this transformation really highlights the importance of being adaptable, right? Improvise, adapt, overcome. In our lives, we often face moments that force us to redefine who we are. What parts of us need to die off in order for us to live and become the metamorphosis and become the butterfly? It's essential that we remain open and we seek out new opportunities for growth and advice from people who have our best interests and want the best for us. I know the people that I care deeply about, the friendships I have, they're truth tellers in my life. Not going to let you slide on some bullshit. So, how do you find faith? How do you find support? Right? Like Lieutenant Dan, that guy was in the abyss. He was in the darkness, Finally he finds faith, not just in himself though, and the people around him, right? If you're down in the darkness, right, and in the abyss, you're down in the sewers with Bane. Well, I mean, look, you have to start looking at people and give them the charitable compensation, see the best in people. And I think he did that particularly with Forrest. He emphasizes the power of how important connection and support systems are in our pursuits, whether in sports, Corporal Carl, whether you're, trying to lock down a job, whatever it is. Can't underestimate the value of community and surrounding ourselves with supportive teammates, friends, coaches, mentors, church associates, and peers. They guide us through the tough times and tough storms. But even a shipwreck can turn out to be a prosperous voyage in the end. So hang on tight. As we wrap it up today, because I'm getting ready to do a pool party at the Kwas house. It's a real Fockers scene. If you've ever seen the pool party from the Fockers, that's what it is. But I'm fired up, possibly the last pool volleyball day of the year, and potentially moving into the 80s and 90s here in Arizona, which would be sweater weather for most of us. So let's reflect back and think about a lot of the powerful lessons that we can learn from the great Forrest Gump and the legendary Lieutenant Dan. Let's embrace the journey and commit to our goals with unwavering consistency, because consistency is a fucking superpower. And in the spirit of Lieutenant Dan, let's face the storms head on, right? Let's be willing for old parts of ourselves that don't serve us to die off so we can have the metamorphosis and become the big, beautiful butterfly. Tears in my eyes. Tears in my eyes. Resilience isn't just merely surviving the storm, right? Be resilient. It's about dancing. No, splashing those puddles when they come. And sometimes when the roof is blown off the barn, you can finally see the moon. And you emerge stronger on the other side. Thanks for tuning in to the Mindbender Mental Performance Podcast. Until next time, it fucking takes what it takes. And the best is yet to come.